firearm in Michigan, that automatically becomes a felony. So we might end up with a lot of openings in the Clio Police Department. I don't know.
Well, I think they need that explained to them.
Yeah, hopefully it can be prevented, right, with a little education.
And maybe an attorney's letter.
That was my whole basis of going there and explaining it to them and having that conversation, that they would just follow the law, they would follow the court order.
Well, maybe you need
and that there wouldn't be any issues. But apparently it's quite clear that they don't really care. They're just going to kind of do whatever the school wants. And
you need to go to their boss.
It's unfortunate.
You need to go to their boss and have their boss talk to them about it.
I would hope so. You know, that actually is going to be my next step.
Good.
I know the mayor in the city of Clio quite well. In fact, he lives across the street from me.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can kind of put a bug in his ear.
Yeah. You've mentioned civil suits, criminal action, things like that. Are you committed to following this through until the city and the school district comply?
Absolutely. I'll follow this all the way to the Supreme Court as long as my co-plaintiff, Michigan Open Carry, is interested in doing the same.
Okay.
And I'll continue to donate and put my own finances on the line for that.
Yeah, and I appreciate the efforts. I mean, obviously,
we do.
It doesn't do any of us much good if we get a ruling, but nobody's following it, and there isn't any follow-through on our part. So,
right.
And I believe Michigan Open Carry is taking donations for the appeals case.
Yeah,
correct?
on their website, you can make a donation through PayPal, and you can send them a check. They've got an a snail mail address as well. So everybody believes in gun rights, especially in the state of Michigan. Man, $5, $10, $20, $100.
Yeah.
It all helps because
exactly.
it's expensive.
Every penny would help, and quite honestly, what people need to realize, too, is if we get a ruling on the Court of Appeals level, specifically with schools, which is just slightly different than the CADL case,
right,
that this would have case law for the state of Michigan.
Right.
That means everybody in the state of Michigan would be under this case law. You wouldn't have a problem from Iosco County to Sault Ste. Marie to Newberry to Detroit. It doesn't matter. All these school districts would be under the same case law.
And so it would be a big gun rights win statewide.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be huge, yes, because unfortunately when preemption was written, it wasn't written with a consequence. So this would add essentially teeth, as they would say, to a law that doesn't have consequence. And that would be huge because, quite honestly, law-abiding citizens carrying in these so-called pistol-free zones or gun-free zones are exactly what's needed. And some people can't seem to realize that after umpteen number of mass shootings and mass killings in these gun-free zones.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for your efforts on that. Good luck with it. I want to move on to something slightly different, if you don't mind. We were talking about this before the break. Yeah, Regal Cinemas. I don't know how this made the press, but
they're a national theater chain.
Yeah, and recently they added to their policy a clause that they will, whatever, search bags of people that are coming into the theater, of course, because we've had some mass shootings in
it's for safety
theaters, and everybody loves safety.
Right.
What are your thoughts on something like that?
Well, as we saw with the Aurora shooting, they could have searched the shooter in that particular situation and found nothing on him, obviously, because he ended up going out one of the fire doors of the theater and then entering back through there and committing his crimes and his shooting. So that doesn't do any good. As far as that goes, I'm not exactly going to go to... let me start out as my personal opinion. As a private property owner, I respect their rights, and they have every right to do that, and I will defend that.
Yeah.
However, I will not patronize a facility that does such a thing, and if their thoughts are in mind of keeping firearms or weapons out of the theater, that's not exactly a good way to go about it. Supporting and encouraging their employees and their patrons to lawfully carry in those places is a natural deterrent in its own, and not having the big old signs on the door that says, hey, we're a target, saying this is a gun-free zone.
Kenneth, everyone knows that you carry your your piece, your heater, your pistol in bags. You never carry them in your pocket or tucked in your groin or in your ankle holster. It's always in bags.
That's the thing. Their policy talks about searching bags and not people.
Right.
Well, right. Yeah, that's a whole nother ballgame altogether. I'm not sure what they're hoping to accomplish with that. But,
it's political theater
in
a real theater.
Wrong direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's what it's really about. What it's really about is keeping candy and alcohol and drugs and soda pop from people bringing them into the theater.
So
that's
they can
what
make
it's
the
about.
money on.
So they can charge you $12 for a large Coke.
No, I can see that too.
That's what it is.
Quite a logical argument there.
Yeah, but and they are using the safety thing because, like I said, their policy says, well, this slight inconvenience is more than made up for with the extra security that you'll feel, right?
It's actually
it was under the umbrella of safety and the argument of safety. We saw that with the TSA, and we've seen that with various policies and laws that have been passed since 9/11.
And what scares me is that we're falling for it. The people are accepting this now as the new normal. Everybody's getting indoctrinated into accepting being searched and all of this stuff in their daily lives, and that's what's scary. Because when the private people are doing it all the time, it's one little step to the government doing it. And pretty soon it's going to be, they're already getting there. How many times do you see cops where they, you don't got nothing to hide? Can I search your bag? Oh, yeah, sure. Knowing that there's heroin needles or whatever in there.
Yeah.
Can I look in your car? Yeah, sure. Go ahead. And it's, we've got to fight that. We've got to fight that.
All right, Kenneth Herman, thanks for being with us. Congratulations on the win. Good luck on the Court of Appeals. Once again, I just want to remind everybody to head over to Michigan Open Carry, miopencarry.org, and donate for the cause. I think they have a general donation and one, I think, a fund set up specifically for the case.
Well, they have a legal
fund, sure.
Legal fund. That's what
right now, this is the fight they're fighting. So, thank you for your time. I appreciate what you've done.
Keep us apprised on, if they actually do file and, what's going on when it goes to the Court of Appeals.
Will do. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, Kenneth. Enjoy your dinner.
All right. Bye-bye.
Well, that's interesting. It's too bad that the school policy said they're going to continue to do the same thing.
It's ridiculous.
And I just, by the way, I just had someone...
Well, not quite the same thing. They will allow him in the school. They did say, yes, we'll have to follow the ruling.
But then we're going to kick you out?
But, no, they're going to go on lockdown.
Oh. Well, he's saying that he might be arrested or something.
Well, actually, if they go on lockdown, they don't let people in and out.
Yeah, so
how does that work?
I don't know. Now, I will say that I got a PM from a person a couple days ago from another school district on the other side of the state, on the west side of the state, pretty big school district. And the person asked, in lieu of this case, what are you going to do? Because it was a school that before had done similar things by trespassing people that open carried and all that. And they said, we don't care about that case. We're going to do the same thing and ban people and lockdown and all that. So,
well, and
they can do that because this court case isn't in their jurisdiction. It wouldn't be contempt of court.
Right.
Until it goes to a court of appeal.
Which is why, an appeal is expensive, right, for everybody, taxpayers and
and that's the other thing,
Kenneth and Michigan Open Carry. But it would be good to have, a successful appeals case.
Right. I think they want it to go to an appeals.
Yeah. I think I think it's worth a little bit of money if everybody can chip in. Right, it's going to be worth it.
Yeah, if you support the Second Amendment, don't sit there and say it's about hunting or target shooting and all that. These are important issues if you believe in the right to keep and bear arms for personal protection and to fight against tyranny.
Or for any reason.
For any reason, right? Any good reason.
Any reason.
Okay, I keep them for murder. I'm a professional assassin, and
hold on. If you murder, look, you're making the same.
No, I'm just saying that's my reason for them.
Fine.
You said that's good.
Fine, but until you murder, that's fine.
Okay. So any lawful reason? Can we modify it or not?
Why?
I don't know. Because I just said.
Is it? Well, it's horrible, right? Is it unlawful to keep a gun for murder?
No.
Okay.
No.
So yeah, that's a lawful reason. Sure.
Okay. There you go. That's you heard it here, folks. Now,
I'm not saying it's a good reason. I'm not saying it's a good reason.
Go out and murder everybody you can because Nate says it's okay.
No.
We understand what you meant. Yeah, I get it. I love it. That's what's fun about the show. It's the only reason I come here. What was I going to say?
Well, I know it's changed now.
Yeah. That's it, I guess. We're out of time pretty much.
I think we'll be back next week this time. So
depending on how my tummy is.
Yeah, you can expect us fairly regularly as long as Brian is regular. See you next week.
Bye.